Hi, it's Maggie the Irish Gypsy here to bring you your June 2018 general readings. Thank you so much for joining us here today, and welcome to any newcomers. Thank you for all your likes, shares, subscribes, and for sending in your support, feedback, and comment. Always welcome and very much appreciated. And also a big thank you to all of my clients out there, both regular and new clients, for continuing to keep me so busy with personal one-on-one readings. And if any of you are interested in personal one-on-one reading with me and you haven't read with me before, you've forgotten the information, as most of you know, you can get all that information and my contact details by going to my YouTube channel's homepage and clicking on that little About button. And that info is also attached to the description bar of all the videos I post. You can email me directly at maggie1maguire@gmail.com. I'd be delighted to work with you and set up a personal reading with you, live or recorded. Turnaround times are pretty quick too, because I do readings full time, 5 to 6 days a week. It is what I do. So I can usually get back to you within the same day or the first 24 hours of your initial contact with more information. And we can go from there and schedule a reading for you, live or recorded. I do love and romance, career, work, and finance, compatibility chartings, reconciliation spreads, 6 and 12-month overviews for what's coming in your life for the next 6 or 12 months, depending on how far you want to look. And I also do gift readings if you'd like to give the gift of a personal reading to somebody else. So contact me if you're interested and we'll go from there. You can also find me on the smartphone app Instantgo under Irish Gypsy for fast answers to those quick, simple questions. That link is also with my contact details. So let's get into this reading. This is for the water sign of Cancer, Cancer the Crab, for June 2018. Let's see what the month of June has in store for our Cancerians. Make sure to watch your rising and your moon sign videos too, if you know them and if you can, for additional clarification. They may resonate for you a little more predictively at different times of the month. Okay, Cancer, we begin with the King of Cups, followed by the Hermit. We have the High Priestess, followed by the Seven of Wands, the Seven of Pentacles, followed by the King of Wands, and the Ace of Wands, followed by the Ace of Swords. Great way to end the month. From the bottom of the deck, your crowning card representing overall energy and guidance and advice is the Emperor. Let's take a look here, Cancer. So Cancer, it kind of looks like a month of introspection, bringing some things, I think, to closure and contemplating and reflecting on something. Some of you, this is going to be centered around a relationship as well. Your overall energy and focus and guidance for the month of Cancer is represented by the Emperor, your crowning card from the bottom of the deck. This could also represent for some of you a person in your life. The Emperor is kind of the traditional father of the deck. He's got a very paternal energy to him. For some of you, this could represent the energy of your father or a father figure. It could be that that person is significant for you in the month of June. It could also represent a partner for some of you as well. On an advice level, the Emperor is all about structure and discipline, paying attention to details and being thoughtful and measured in everything that you do, because that's what the Emperor does. He has a pretty big job, the Emperor. He has an entire empire to run, even more so than the kings and queens who have kingdoms to run. The Emperor has a whole collection of kingdoms in his empire. So it's important to stay on top of details and be structured and self-discipline, make sure things work on time, and above all, one of the other things about the Emperor is that he understands that the decisions and the choices he makes affects a wide variety of people. So he's very thoughtful and careful and contemplative. He considers, he's not a spontaneous or impulsive person, not driven by emotion. Not to say that he's emotionless, but he makes his decisions and choices very carefully because he understands that they have kind of a long-lasting, far-reaching effect, particularly on the people, in his sphere. So guidance for the month of June, definitely manifesting the energy of the Emperor. Now we have the King of Cups with the Hermit around the beginning of the month. For some of you, the King of Cups, water sign individual, Cancer, Pisces, Scorpio, Sun, Moon, or Rising, male or female. These are general readings, and there's a lot of you watching, so they can be kind of tricky in specificity. The details and specifics will vary because there's so many of you watching, but the energy fundamentally remains the same. It's why we usually suggest you watch your rising and your moon sign. So for some of you, the King of Cups is going to represent you. A lot of you, I feel this is going to represent you as well. Cancer, Pisces, Scorpio person. This is somebody who is an emotionally stable and grounded individual. It's kind of an echo of that Emperor card too, a lesser echo of that. He's sometimes called the King of Cool. He's usually able to keep his head in the midst of chaos, or when things are kind of maybe disorganized all around him. Kings and Queens represent individuals who've, they've mastered their suit. They're kind of at the top of their game. And Cups is water energy. In the tarot, the suit of Cups manifests as energy of the heart, emotions, feelings, and also relationships as well. He is an emotionally intuitive person, but he's not driven or ruled by his emotions. He, like the Emperor, is very emotionally stable and contemplative of what he does. And he's also a good source of emotional support and feedback. For some of you, this could represent another water sign individual in your life. Cancer, Pisces, Scorpio, Sun, Moon, or Rising, or somebody who's manifesting as the King of Cups. And I feel like for those of you for whom this is another water sign in your life, this would be in a supportive person. But I think for a lot of you, this is you manifesting your own energy and, remaining emotionally stable and grounded. And I feel like some of you may be taking some time out. The King of Cups is clarified and accompanied by the Hermit. I feel like a lot of you, we also have the High Priestess. We have the Hermit, the High Priestess, the King of Cups, the Emperor. All the people, most of the people in this spread, they have some things in common. They tend to come from a place of wisdom and introspection. The Hermit does as well. The Hermit can mean, taking some time off, whether that's, maybe in the month of June, particularly in the beginning of June, you may be spending more time to yourself than you normally do, to kind of reflect and gain some inner, maybe gain some insight over a situation and some wisdom as well. I feel like a lot of you may have, particularly with that Emperor there, may have a lot of little details to take care of during the month of June. I feel like some of you may be moving or traveling as well, or maybe a combination of both. And I think there's a lot of physical details, like you may have a list of things to do. I feel too that some of you might be feeling throughout the month of June a little overwhelmed from time to time. When you have a lot of things to do over a period of time, when you look at the entire list of things you have to do, it can seem very overwhelming. So just make sure to kind of take it a chunk at a time, assign yourself tasks to do every day, and just kind of knock those off. And that's how the journey gets accomplished, one step at a time. And you may be taking some time in the beginning of the month, by yourself, particularly if you have a lot to take care of that, nobody else or not very many people can help you with a lot of this stuff. I feel like a lot of you have been through or are in the midst of a pretty big transformation, transition, and change. And again, I feel like a lot of you, this is physical, moving, relocating, traveling, or a combination of both, or getting ready to do that. There's a lot of inner contemplative energy in the beginning of the month. And I think the challenge for you is going to be on not really staying on top of details, because I think you're pretty good at that, Cancer, but not getting emotionally overwhelmed, staying emotionally grounded, and not overscheduling, overbooking yourself, making sure that the larger task that you have to do and the things that you need to accomplish, you need to break down in smaller chunks and kind of accomplish them that way. Stay emotionally grounded and focused, and take a step back when you need to take a step back. When you feel yourself getting overwhelmed, maybe take a little break from, outside conventional distractions in whatever way that makes sense to you, because that's what the Hermit does as well. That's what all monastics do, hermits, monks. They withdraw from the distractions of conventional society in order to get some quiet, to seek out wisdom, insight, clarity, particularly if your challenge is staying kind of, emotionally stable and not being all over the place with your emotions. Next, we have the High Priestess and the Seven of Wands around the second week or so, maybe around the middle of the month. Time is always fluid, so this is going to vary for a lot of you watching. The High Priestess is, another card of inner contemplation. She is the most spiritually connected and intuitive female in the tarot, I believe. She's also the quietest. She spent a lot of time watching and observing and thinking and contemplating about what she sees and thinks. She's very connected to Source, God, Spirit, your angels and guides, and she allows her intuition to lead and guide her. Intuition is the cable, the conduit by which we get messages from God, Spirit, your angels and guides. It's kind of that hose, that cable. And when the High Priestess shows up, it's usually, these messages are good for the entire month, but particularly in the first half of the month and around the middle of the month, you're going to want to be paying attention to any flashes of insight you have, any bits of clarity, especially if you feel like they come out of nowhere or are random. Pay attention to your dreams. Ask for help from, your guardian angels, your spirit guides, whatever it is that you connect to in terms of Source. I mean, the Hermit and the High Priestess are both, very spiritual, very inner wisdom, contemplative kind of cards. And I feel like for a lot of you, you have, intangible, non-corporeal, help around you that you may not necessarily see, but that's going to be with you quite strongly in helping you kind of navigate through the remainder of the month, particularly in remaining, again, emotionally stable, because I feel like a lot of you have a lot of things to do in front of you, and you may have a tendency to kind of overwhelm yourself by looking at it all as something you need to take in one big bite, so don't do that. The High Priestess is accompanied by the Seven of Wands, which is a protective, defensive card. It can represent standing up for something that you believe in, someone that you believe in, a belief system perhaps, something that you've invested a lot in. You have a very strong connection to this. You can see that this man is standing in front of the door to his home, his castle, his keep, whatever it is that he's defending. Again, it could be another person or belief system or yourself, because you feel like it's being challenged or threatened somehow. Sometimes this card can, no tarot card is a standalone. You kind of have to look, around you. I feel like some of you, maybe around the second week or so, I feel like for some of you, there's two people that you're dealing with in your life. One of them showing up as a fire sign, because we have the King of Wands, and one of them showing up as a water sign, the King of Cups. They may or may not be a water or a fire sign. They just may be showing up as that way. I feel like for some of you, for a lot of you, one of them is, a close partner, significant other, perhaps, in a positive way. And I feel like another one of them, there's some conflict going on with there, because I feel like the Seven of Wands, for some of you, this protective, defensive energy, feeling like maybe you may be having some conflict with this other person. I feel like for some of you it may be a water sign, and there may be some conflict or a lack of resolution around them. And I feel like some of you are going to have a conversation, not necessarily a confrontation, but a conversation about that. And for those of you for whom this applies, or you're having conflict with this other person, I want you to manifest the energy of the High Priestess, because I feel like in any kind of conflict or conversation or confrontation, the High Priestess would spend more time listening than she would talking, and kind of, asking for, spiritual help or her spiritual mentor or guidance from, God, Spirit, your angels and guides, in how to deal with this conflict and how to bring it to a peaceful, healing resolution. Because I feel like this conflict is really kind of balancing on a fence post here, that it could go one way or the other, and you can hugely influence whether this gets resolved in a positive way, or if it keeps on, in an ongoing sort of conflictive way. So try to, in any conflicts or conversations or confrontations you have, specifically with another person, that there's been an ongoing, you may feel like you're being attacked or having to defend yourself somehow from this other person. there's a balance here with trying to get your point across, trying to hear what they're saying, even if, you know, you don't feel like everything that they're saying or feeling is right from your point of view. And getting a healing resolution can be about meeting in the middle, you know, compromise, give and take. So keep that in mind and make sure that you're, you know, that you stand up for what you believe in and what you feel is the right thing and the strong thing, but also don't allow, you know, that defensiveness to kind of go to the opposite end of you know, kind of go too far and prevent a healing resolution or the end of a conflict with another person. And resolution of a conflict with another person doesn't necessarily mean that, you know, you go running off into the sunset together, or, you know, that a friendship continues. It just means that the two parties can agree on bringing the conflict to an end, whether or not, you know, the connection continues or not. So just keep that in mind. Next, we have the Seven of Pentacles and the King of Wands. So the Seven of Pentacles is a card of reflection and assessment, contemplation, which is what the number 7 means. It's also a number of motives. So again, a lot of very inner energy for a lot of you this month. I feel like there's a lot in front of you to do over the month of June, but it's mostly physical details of getting things in order, because you're transitioning from one thing into another, or one place into another. But I feel like there's emotional stuff going on too, and the work can actually help with that as long as you don't allow it to overwhelm you, break it up day by day in what you need to do. There's also an inner sense of contemplation and reflection about something that you've invested in with another person who's showing up as the King of Wands. Leo, Aries, Sagittarius person, sun, moon, or rising, could be male or female. And I feel like for a lot of you, this King of Wands is either your significant other, boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, or somebody that you have a very significant relationship with. I feel like for a lot of you, it's a love romance partner in some sense. And so there's this contemplative, reflective energy around this person. For some of you, it could be this other person going through this energy as well. I feel like for a lot of you, the relationship, you may be spending some time apart this month for one reason or the other. They may be traveling, you may be traveling, you both may be traveling, but at different times together, because I feel like this separation is kind of temporary. But during this time, because I feel like a lot of you have been through something with this partner, the significant relationship, and this time apart is actually, even though you may miss the other person, they may miss you, there's a sense of needing to kind of evaluate the relationship, evaluate what you've been through, evaluate where you're at now and where you're going and what the hope is and how to move forward in a positive way. And I feel like this is actually a two-way street this month for you and this King of Wands individual representing this other relationship in your life. I feel like both of you are kind of spending some time, you know, off and on, in spite of all the things that are in front of you to do. There's this undercurrent of, you know, coming back to thinking about this relationship. The Seven of Pentacles, you know, represents somebody who's getting ready to gather a harvest. She's invested a lot in this harvest, i.e. into this relationship. Both of them, both you and this other person have. And, you know, you're taking a look at what you have. Do you need to make changes? If so, what changes? Do you not need to make changes? You know, if you've been through a really difficult and rocky time, does what you have invested so far justify continuing in this relationship? And if so, how do you do it in the most successful way? For those of you for whom this wouldn't be this kind of relationship, it could be a different kind of relationship. It could be a work relationship, or it could be in job, work, career as well, because Pentacles is earth energy, which often manifests in the tangible, concrete areas of our life, like money, finance, career, etc. So some of you may be contemplating you know, how to move forward in a more fiery, aggressive, assertive way in job, work, and career. But I feel like for a lot of you, this is centered around a significant relationship. The nature of that relationship may vary in a general reading. It could be love romance, it could be friendship, family relationship, a close work relationship. But there's a sense on both sides of, okay, look at what we've invested in it, and what's the harvest like? And in moving forward, should we move forward? Does what we've put into this justify moving forward? Particularly those of you who've been through a really difficult time in your personal relationships. But I feel like for a lot of you, you and this other person in this relationship want to move forward. I feel like there's been a lot of turbulence and chaos in this relationship over the last year, basically, but there's been something rather recent that's been painful, difficult, challenging, but you guys are still together. It's just that the month of June there may be some physical separation or, you know, emotional distance. I do feel like there's some both, but that it's actually essential and actually could be very helpful in healing at this time. We end the month really well with the Ace of Wands and the Ace of Swords at or towards the end of June 2018. Aces represent the number 1, so they always represent the start of something new, a new beginning or a new opportunity that holds a lot of potential, because aces are like seeds, you know. They hold a lot of potential, but in order for that potential to manifest, they have to be planted at the right time. They have to be fertilized, watered, taken care of, nurtured, pruned, you know, and otherwise they just fizzle out or never manifest. But they're kind of like, I always kind of feel like aces are a little extra blessing in a spread, kind of a little fairy dust, if you will. I almost want to say a little extra magic, even though my translation of magic, so to speak, is energy. Energy of God, Spirit, your angels and guides, of Source. So we end with a very positive, a lot of new beginning energy. It's kind of like you're doing all this stuff, you're taking care of all this stuff, you're checking things off the list day by day, trying to stay emotionally grounded. Don't let yourself get overwhelmed. Remember, we're inner contemplative energy this month. Be structured, pay attention to detail, set a reasonable schedule for yourself every day of the things that you have to do and kind of stick to that. Don't allow yourself to get emotionally overwhelmed and go off kind of crazy, which can leave you being overwhelmed or overworked or can paralyze you to where you don't get the things done you need to do. Stay emotionally stable and grounded. Take a step back. I think it may be a good idea to not be overly social. Spend some time to yourself. I think the work can be healing too if you do it in the right way. Again, any conflict that you have with a specific person that you've been having conflict with, try not to be too defensive. Remember to manifest this energy of the High Priestess. Listen. Even if you don't agree with what they're saying, listen and try and hear what they're really saying behind their words. There is potential for a healing resolution to this with a conflict with another person. And then this other significant relationship, there's a lot of reflection energy about, you know, where you've been, where you're going. There's always two sides to every story. I think for those of you that have been going through a difficult, challenging time in a relationship, I think there's fault on both sides. Look at it honestly and openly. I feel like the two of you are still going to be committed to moving forward together in the future. And I feel like at the end of the month, there's this beautiful, positive, new energy. The Ace of Wands, this is fire energy, so it's an exciting, creative, passionate new beginning. The energy of fire is the energy of creation. This is change, movement, action, power. It's physical and action oriented and fluid and forward moving. And it's also accompanied and clarified by the Ace of Swords. You have two aces. It's kind of like an extra boost, an extra blessing. And again, Cancer, I feel like spirit guides and whatever it is that you call your connection to Source, God, Spirit, your angels and guides, are around you very strongly, really there to help you and to provide you with healing, insight, answers, wisdom, anytime you need to call on them. The Ace of Swords, this is more new beginning energy, new opportunities here. Swords is air energy, and it's mental, cerebral, intellectual energy. And the Tarot, the suit of Swords, is governed by air, and it's all about how we think about what we think about things, what we believe about things, our belief systems, our perceptions and perspectives, because that affects the way that we see the world, people in the world, and relate our own words and ideas and feelings to them. So it's all about what goes on up in our head. So the Ace of Swords can be an epiphany, an awareness, new ideas, seeing something from a fresh new perspective. And because it clarifies the Ace of Wands, I think that at the end of this month, even though this month, like every month, I mean, its life has its challenges, I feel like you get through it just fine, Cancer. You're going to get through it just fine. And at the end of the month, you have a deeper understanding and awareness. You may have even had some epiphanies throughout the month with this and one, in resolving an ongoing conflict, and two, with another relationship, or it could be the same relationship, and how to move forward, and a deeper understanding and awareness of who you are, who the other person is, and how to move forward in an exciting new way. And again, for those of you who are moving, relocating, traveling, a combination of both, which I feel like there's a fair amount of you that are, you're literally off and running at the end of the month. I see some of you actually walking into an airport with baggage. So it's like you're traveling, moving. You may be doing a combination of both. So yeah, in some ways, in a lot of ways, even though I feel like you're going to be busy with these physical things, Cancer, there's this undercurrent of contemplation, reflection, looking at things. You know, in a relationship that there's been conflict, or maybe a couple of relationships where there's been conflict, Cancer, you know, there's, I don't know whether to call it fault or blame. Everybody makes mistakes. Look at yours, pardon it, own them honestly and openly, and do what you need to do to kind of figure out how you can make different decisions moving forward. But don't, you know, like, don't beat yourself up, whip yourself up, castrate yourself over these as well. Remember that at the end of the month, you are off and running. You have new understanding, new awareness, new perspective, and you're moving forward in an exciting new way. Stay on top of things, break up your big tasks into smaller, reasonable tasks, and that's how it's going to get done. So Cancer, that pretty much wraps up your June 2018 general reading. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you found it helpful. Again, if any of you are interested in a personal one-on-one reading with me, that sun is just blazing right through this morning. Please go to my YouTube channel's homepage, click on the About button, or you can look at the description bar of all the videos I post. Turnaround time for personal readings, live or recorded, is usually pretty fast. Almost always within a couple of weeks we can set something up for you. Or for someone else, if you want to gift someone with a personal reading. I do a lot of different types of readings, a lot of different you know, amounts of time. So send me an email at Maggie1McGuire@gmail.com. I would be most happy to work with you. You can also find me on the smartphone app Instantgo under Irish Gypsy. That link is also with my contact details. That's for fast answers to really quick, easy questions. So I will see you all in a couple of weeks, Cancer, for the June mid-month readings. And until then, as always, I wish you joy, peace, blessings, and a happy life. Take care, and I hope to see you back here again soon. Bye-bye.